Well, weights were released today for this year's Emirates Melbourne Cup, where ruling favourite Puissance de Lune was allocated 54.5 kilos. His jockey Glen Boss was on hand to talk about all things to do with the Darren Weir-trained grey, but just don't ask him to put his hands on the Emirates Melbourne Cup.
Most participants don't want to touch it, anyone involved. I think Bart started that 1 year ago, he wouldn't touch it, so I think it's just more of a traditional thing that you don't want to touch it. The only reason you should touch this is if you own it, if you win it. Simple as that.
What do you make of Puissance de Lune's weight for this year's Melbourne Cup? 54.5 kilos?
He's got a bit more than I thought, but listen, I've got a massive respect for Greg Carpenter and his handicapping and the way he goes about things, his knowledge of racing, especially around the Melbourne Cup. He's obviously got a very, very healthy respect for my horse. Thus, he's given 54.5. I thought he would get 53.5. I was hoping to get 53.5. I expected 54.
You still confident he's going to be able to win the race, though?
Oh, listen, if he had 58, I'd be confident he'd run a super race. He's that type of horse. I'm confident in his ability. So I think the horses that are close around him, I think he can beat those type of horses. So, listen, he's got great form here. When he gets to his proper distance, which is 1.5 miles beyond, you know what he's capable of doing. So, yeah, I've got a healthy respect for, like I said, for what Greg is, setting.
And what do you make of this year's Melbourne Cup field in general, just the group of horses that are heading towards that race? I think Greg said that it shapes as potentially the best ever. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, as it stands right now, and I've said this about the Cox Plate, as it stands now, collectively the horses that are going forward for these majors, it's just going to be the best of all time. As their ratings sit right now, if they all turn up and quarantine well and are fit and healthy, we're going to be in for a great spectacle because some of the best horse flesh in the world is going to be here.
We don't have to wait till then to get a look at Puissance de Lune, though. He goes around in the Underwood Stakes on Saturday at Caulfield. What are your expectations going into that race?
Yeah, obviously my expectations of him are quite high, but, in saying that, his grand final is another 4 weeks after that, so I'm expecting him to run well. He's already run a little bit above my expectations in his 2 runs so far because his fitness levels are nowhere near where I expect him to be, going into his prep, obviously, but obviously getting closer to his proper distance, 2,000 metres. He's already shown that he can run around Caulfield very well. So, like I said, my expectations of him are quite high. I expect him to run very well again.
It's going to give us a great guide to what might be in the future races later on down the track, with Atlantic Jewel possibly running and many of the other leading contenders. It's shaping as a super race.
Well, it's probably shaping as the form race of the carnival. To get these great horses this early in the carnival all coming together for this race. Generally, this is about the time of the year when all the horses start to stand up and be counted because all the markets will be framed. The horses are getting sort of somewhere near their fitness levels, and trainers want their horses running well at this time of the year. So he's no different, but this will be the race that shapes basically the Cox Plate, Melbourne Cup, Caulfield Cup. So it's a highly anticipated race, that's for sure.
The final field for the Highland Race Colours Underwood Stakes will be finalised tomorrow morning. Stay tuned to springracingcarnival.com.au for all the news.
Get back on track, Victoria. The Spring Racing Carnival. It's time for some real entertainment. Visit springracingcarnival.com.au. You know you want to.